This weekend I was training on the track because I love to run, and I was doing a track session. And the wonderful thing about track sessions is there's loads of young people, so it's very inspiring. Lots and lots of 20 somethings, younger, little ones, coaches. I love the atmosphere. It's all very, for me, very inspiring, because for me running is the place where I would say that I've developed resilience, and also the fact that I had resilience from a very young age meant that I followed through with being a distance runner. And I was watching a little boy running, and I would say he was 10, and he was doing some running, and his father and a coach and some other people were around, and his little sister. But then there were lots of big people, bigger than him, running too, and something happened where he tripped, and anyway he fell, and he didn't get properly hurt or anything, but he fell, and then he was lying on his tummy on the grass crying. And the people around him were kind, and his dad kind of, patted him on the back and put his hand on his shoulder, but they didn't scoop him up. They didn't in any way kind of create any drama or anything. And then when he was ready and he'd cried a bit, up he got, brushed himself down, and he got back on the track and he was running again. And I watched it, and what I think I witnessed was somebody becoming more resilient, because he had a fall. It was painful, but he got up himself. He had people around him to support him, but they didn't do it for him. They didn't make it into a drama. And I think that we do often develop our resilience through adversity. It is through difficult stuff that we become stronger. And of course, there's the nature-nurture argument always, that some people come into the world already with more resilience than others, and some people come in stronger, and some people come in with all manner of different things. We come in with lots of different attributes which we bring in, and then obviously the nurture informs things. If we get slammed and shouted at when we fall over or something goes wrong, we can get crushed. Now, we may have to carry on as a child, but that can often create ultimately collapse. In the same way, if every time we fall or something goes wrong, we get scooped up too much, we don't develop our own inner strength. So it is a fine line. And obviously, ultimately, as we grow and we come out of childhood, we have to take our own responsibility. And part of that can be reflecting and looking back at our childhood and seeing what were the family rules, what were the patterns, what happened when we cut ourselves. Were we encouraged to get up and get back moving? Were we shouted at? Were we, pushed too hard? And then we can see the reflections of that, because we'll all adapt in different ways. Sometimes we might adapt if we've been pushed too hard by not wanting to put ourselves into those environments and holding back. Sometimes we just end up push all our life, and it doesn't feel good. And sometimes then something happens that means we do get ill, or we get injured or something, but it's not as nice a place to be. Sometimes we end up, not having that much resilience and finding that we get felled at everything. Things overwhelm us, things are too hard. So it is a reflective journey, first and foremost, to be able to watch ourselves in difficult circumstances. How do we respond? Because ultimately, once it starts to get a bit tough, there are a series of things that we can do that mean that we can keep going. And one of them is to really come back into our center and come back into a relaxed state. Because when things are difficult, if it starts to be difficult in a relationship, if it's something physically difficult, if it's difficult at work, if we're being asked a lot, if it's exams, really relaxation is so important, that we need to come back into our center point, come back to now, come back to presence, and get really used to developing some relaxation techniques that mean we come back to getting our body to be in a state of more ease, because otherwise we're in a fight and flight mode all the time. We're in the sympathetic nervous system, which is on fight and flight, which means our muscles are tense and the adrenaline's flowing through our body, and everything is on red alert, and that's not good for us. It's not good to have that all the time. It wears us down. So therefore, learning some breathing techniques, being able to breathe deeply into the tummy, breathing out, just doing that simply, the Ujjayi breath of yoga, deep into the tummy, breathing out, and just doing that throughout the day can be of great value in helping us develop resilience, because the more we relax, the more then when things are difficult, we can bring ourselves back to relaxation. And then it's a matter of managing our mind and managing our narrative, because we can start to panic and go, I can't do this, oh, it's all too much, everything's too much, I'm not going to do it. And that really doesn't help things. We need to develop some internal narrative that goes, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know I can. I'll deal with it. Those are two useful ones. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know I will. I'll deal with it. And just keep saying that over and over. And developing an internal narrative does help with adversity and help us carry on. I do remember when I was doing an ultra race, because without question, being a distance runner has developed my ability to have resilience. I think I was a very resilient child. I came in very resilient. I was born in 1959, which means my upbringing was more of that ilk, shall we say. It was more the cracking on ilk, the more carry on, whatever. Now, I think that what I notice in my work with people is I am helping them to carry on, or to get back on their feet, or to go forward or take steps. But what I learnt as a child with the carry on, just get on with it kind of upbringing that lots of us in that era had, that is important, that we carry on and we're able to take the next step, but that there is a process between getting back on our feet. From A to C, there is a B, and it's the same as if we break a leg. We can't just find someone in the road who's broken their leg and say, come on, crack on, get up. And obviously it's the same with our emotional and mental health, that we do want to get back on our feet, but there is a process, A to C, B, and I'm very good at having developed the skills in myself from a cracking on upbringing that just cracked on, to recognizing that isn't necessarily a helpful thing, and it puts us under too much pressure, to be able to know how to stay in the step, keep in the step when it's difficult, keep going when, as I say, I ran a couple of ultras, but I ran one in 2008. It was the inaugural London to Brighton cross-country race. It was raining the whole way from Greenwich to London. No, the other way around, not London. Where did I go? Greenwich to Brighton, the whole way. And there was one point I was running with my friend Jim, and we got lost in a wood for 4 miles. So we'd added some on. We'd run out of energy. Our blood sugar was low. We'd met a group of friends who fed us Coca-Cola, which was amazing. However, at that point, I said to Jim, we had about 10 miles to go. I'm not sure I can do this, Jim. And Jim just said very quietly, not feeling so great myself, Ju. And I just went, come on, Julia, shush, and carry on. But it was just then taking in some nutrition, getting back into my centre, going, I don't know how, but I know I can get to the end. There are times not to get to the end, by the way. There are times when it's time to pull out, but that's for another video. But resilience gets developed in every moment where we find something difficult and we don't panic. We go, I know I can do this. I'm not sure how, but I'll find a way. We manage our body, so we keep it relaxed. We manage our narrative. And then if necessary, we go and get help, because we are all a team. We're all together. We're all in this together. There are lots of people who can help us, both practically, emotionally, spiritually, on the path. And it is recognizing that by doing those 3 things, really, relaxing physically, training ourselves mentally, and also recognizing that we can get help, means that when we hit a difficult thing, with all of those things being applied, we can get stronger. We'll find inner strengths we didn't know we had, and we can grow and become more resilient, but also more self-aware and more able to properly enjoy life, because we don't feel afraid that we're not going to be able to do things.